For context, my girlfriend and I have been seeing each other for 3 years now, 1.5 years straight, and then on and off for a while until we fully rekindled things in recent months. We've been through a lot, had some perfect moments and memories, and some very ugly moments. As a toast of celebration to everything we've been through and how far we've come, my girlfriend and I agreed, a week and a half ago, to celebrate our 3-year anniversary, yesterday, with a fancy dinner. We also planned to get each other gifts and treat it like a normal anniversary, despite the on and offs. On the 4th of July, while at a pool party, my girlfriend and I confirmed all the details of the day and dinner and everything we were going to do. That night, we had a pretty deep conversation about my grandmother, who passed away several months ago. Her birthday was on Monday of this week, hence the conversation. And my girlfriend suggested we visit the church together where some of my grandma's ashes are located. Basically a memorial set up, ashes placed in a brick placed in the wall and engraved with my grandma's name. My girlfriend doing this with me would be a huge step in our relationship and something very meaningful to me, so I was excited that she made that suggestion. The following day, my girlfriend had to get ready for a weekend work trip. She's a flight attendant. That day, she started getting a little distant and just seemed annoyed for most of the day. I chalked it off as her just being tired. I brought up the anniversary plans in the afternoon and suggested some other dinner locations, just to add some variety and mystery. I was going to surprise her with a very fancy place anyway, and she snapped at me, telling me that we had already confirmed the plans during the week and that we didn't need to discuss them again. She went on her trip, and we scarcely talked over the course of the weekend. Very unusual. Usually, we will text on and off throughout the day when we have time or talk on the phone. This continued when she got back home on Tuesday. She called me in the morning, and we talked for a bit about her trip, my workday, etc. She took her little brother to the movies in the afternoon, and then called me again. I planned on confirming the time during this call. I had finally secured the reservations, but about 5 minutes into the call, she suddenly says, "I'll call you right back," and then never called me again. Tuesday evening, she texted me asking if we were still doing something yesterday, to which I told her that we were. She replied saying, "We hadn't talked about it at all." I responded that we hadn't talked much the last couple of days. She then responded and said she was planning on staying home anyway. This led to me reiterating that we had already confirmed the plans last week and that most of the anniversary was a complete surprise, and the only thing we hadn't done was confirm the time. She snapped at me again, saying that we hadn't talked about the plans and reiterated, "I don't know why how much we talk matters, but you clearly don't think it's enough." She has no problem blowing up my phone most of the time, calling me often, etc. But when I make a point that we hadn't talked much lately, this is usually her reaction. I haven't heard from her since. Now for an update. I found out last night that she went out to dinner with one of her close girlfriends. She posted on her Instagram story and captioned it, "My cute dinner date tonight." I'm assuming this was to get a reaction out of me, which I did not react to. We've gone through some periods lately where we will argue, or she'll trigger an argument and then use it as a reason to give me the silent treatment. When she argues, she ends up shutting down and just replying with "okay" over and over again and stops listening to me, leaves the conversation, etc. And then just leaves me on delivered for days until she reaches out again. I'm just very confused at this point. In the last week, we were talking about marriage and kids and our future together. She went as far as to say that in the future, she hopes she goes before me as she couldn't live without me. This girl is the love of my life, but I'm starting to wonder if it's even worth putting up with anymore. What do I do? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So, whether or not, I'm not someone who just doesn't go to something I planned and was looking forward to just because the other person is unavailable. Leading up to the date seemed exhausting between the two of you. I would invite a family member or a close friend to the dinner and post on Instagram. The Instagram part may be a bit petty, but I normally post when I'm out, so it would be normal. Laugh out loud. I'm confused about where the disconnect happened here, since you have been trying to confirm, and she keeps brushing you off and then goes off on you. But this doesn't seem like a healthy relationship at all, to be honest. Good luck, original poster. Comment 2. Based on your post and your replies to other posters, I'm afraid this woman is stringing you along. It doesn't sound like she values you or the relationship at all. Your comments about her love bombing, expecting you to read her mind because her ex presumably could, and being on and off long term, make me wonder whether she's only with you because she's afraid of being single and having to face and fix her issues before she's ready for a healthy relationship. Now, for the update, I'm at this family barbecue, just trying to enjoy some brisket and beer, and then I get this text from my girlfriend saying she needs space. Like, really? Right now? My mom's already looking at me like I'm a total weirdo, wondering why I'm just staring at my phone like I'm in shock. She comes over, all worried, asking if everything's okay, and I just brush it off, trying to keep things chill. It's a barbecue, for crying out loud. Can't let this mess up my appetite for ribs. Later, I overhear my uncle talking about how my girlfriend's been acting all weird at family events. Like, what does that even mean? What has she been doing? So I decide to text her to figure out what's up with our anniversary plans, but she doesn't respond. Of course. The next day, I'm scrolling through social media, and what do I see? A post of her and some mutual friend of ours at this local art gallery. I immediately remember her saying she wanted to go to that gallery with me. Awesome. Just awesome. Later that week, I'm at the grocery store, and guess who I run into? Her. She's acting all surprised to see me, but can't even look me in the eye. I try to bring up our anniversary plans, and she just changes the subject. We leave the store in silence, without talking about anything. A few days later, my younger sister calls, asking if I've seen our cousin. Apparently, our cousin's been posting these vague, dramatic messages about feeling betrayed and hurt. I'm putting 2 and 2 together, thinking this has to be about my girlfriend. I remember a family dinner a couple of weeks ago where my cousin and my girlfriend had this awkward moment. After some digging, I find out from a family member that my girlfriend told them she's been feeling overwhelmed. So, I decide to confront her about it at dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant. She gets all defensive, saying my family is too nosy about our relationship. I call her out, pointing out that she's been distant and avoiding any talk about our future. The next day, I find out she's been hanging out with this guy I thought was just a friend. I see pics online of her at a concert with him, laughing and having a blast. I remember a time when she said she wanted to be more spontaneous and adventurous. Well, she sure is, just not with me. At the family gathering, my older brother asks about my girlfriend. The whole room goes silent. He then shares how he had a similar experience where a partner pulled away. Thanks, bro. Just what I needed to hear. After the gathering, I find this note slipped under my door from my girlfriend. It says she wants to talk, but doesn't say when or where. I try to call her, but she won't pick up. I'm just left feeling frustrated and confused. A week later, I get this invite to a big family wedding in the spring. I'm thinking, great, just what I need. Now I have to decide if I'm bringing her or not. I figure I need to talk to her before the wedding to clear things up. So, I set up this dinner at this cozy diner where we used to go on casual dates. She agrees to meet, but I can hear the hesitation in her voice. The night before our dinner, I get this message from my cousin saying she's heard rumors about my girlfriend. Apparently, she's been seeing someone else. Now, I'm just getting ready for this dinner, feeling this mix of excitement and anxiety. I honestly have no idea what to expect. Mini update. The dinner went as expected. My girlfriend admitted to seeing someone else for the past 3 months. She claims it was just emotional cheating as they never slept together. She felt lonely and confused about our relationship, so she sought comfort with someone else. We had a long conversation where she expressed wanting to be friends, but I told her to leave my life completely. I feel relieved to have clarity, but also sad about the situation. Ata for confronting my husband's family about ignoring my mother's death and being laughed at. Aita for confronting my husband and his family for ignoring my mother's death and laughing about me. My 37-year-old in-laws father-in-law, late 60s, and stepmother-in-law, late 50s, never reached out to me when my mom, 66, was dying and after she died. My husband, 37, had reached out to his dad to let him know what was going on. I guess just to say something to him. He's not very close with his dad. Since his dad remarried, he's closer with his stepkids. My husband's biological mom has been very sweet and reached out to me about my mom passing. Some backstory on my mom's health issues. My mom had been dealing with Crohn's disease for about 15 years, and her health started declining over the last 6 months due to malnutrition and other complications that come along with it if not treated properly. Her doctor told her she had to have surgery earlier this year for the colostomy bag, and possibly have that removed after 6 months if she did everything perfectly to get healthy again. She was put into a nursing home after a couple of weeks since she wasn't thriving after the surgery, and her doctor thought the nursing home setting would help her. Well, the staff at the nursing home neglected her and didn't know how to care for her colostomy bag, clean it, etc., and she ended up with sepsis. She died a couple of weeks later in the hospital when they finally had her transferred back. Back to my in-laws. They never reached out to me through call or text to say anything to me about her passing. My husband would talk to his dad to keep him updated. That's it. He never relayed any message about his dad saying he is sorry or if there is anything he could do, etc. I'll just say, my husband and his dad's stepmom have a weird dynamic. It's hard to describe. They are just different people, I guess, for lack of any other description. We are friends on Facebook and never said anything on there when I posted about my mom passing. Not even their kids, not even my husband's biological brother and sisters. Is this weird and rude, or am I overreacting? I'm emotional writing this, so I am sorry for any tone any of you get from this. It's just been so rough emotionally with her gone. To add, I just wanted to add that I haven't mentioned my confusion and upset to my husband over his family never reaching out, as I know he would get defensive over them. He defends them, even though some things they do are kind of upsetting, and then says they are that way because I am weird around them. I have trouble socializing with people, as I have autism, especially when they are more judgmental, which they are. But conveniently, that still gets thrown in my face by my husband as the reason they aren't close to me. They know why I am the way I am. I've been with their son for over 20 years. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Yes, it is weird. It doesn't mean they dislike you or don't care. There could be a bunch of various reasons, like they're awkward around death and don't know what to say. They don't consider themselves close enough to reach out and imagine you'd prefer they didn't. They're just not very thoughtful about what others are going through, etc. There is a clue in your letter. It sounds like they're pretty distant from your husband, in which case, they're even more distant from you, so they may just not think of it as their place. In some cases, the person grieving doesn't want a bunch of messages from everyone they know. Maybe they think by just communicating with your husband, they're doing you a favor. If you never talked before, it's kind of just a continuation of that. None of these explanations make it okay. I'm just offering possible things that may be going through their heads. They may not have realized they've done anything wrong or that they should have reached out, although yes, they should have. Or they could just be jerks. It's a shame your husband can't talk about it with you openly. Maybe you could just ask him if there's a reason they haven't reached out to you. Comment 2. What your in-laws have done is hurtful. I am so sorry. It seems like they use your autism as an excuse for certain behavior, as well as your husband. That is not a good thing. You are not overreacting. But it is important to notice what you say about your husband, that he is going to defend his family. Does he hear what you have to say? Does he express empathy or sadness for you? Or are all of his loyalties for his family? That is the critical issue, in my humble opinion. Now, for the update. 2 days after my last post, I got a text from my husband about a family dinner at his parents' house this weekend. I was kind of surprised, considering what I was dealing with, but we all know how these family gatherings go. I hesitated for a second, but I agreed to go. I didn't want to make things worse in my marriage. So, yeah, I just went with it. I spent the whole week preparing this dish to bring to the dinner. It was my mom's favorite recipe, and I thought it would be a nice way to remember her. I wanted to keep her memory alive, especially since no one else seemed to care. On the day of the dinner, my husband was acting all distant, just scrolling through his phone while I was cooking. I couldn't help but feel even more alone. We finally got to his parents' house, and the smell of barbecue hit me hard. The sound of laughter from the backyard made it even worse. I felt like I was walking into a party I wasn't invited to. The vibe was super awkward. I noticed right away that my in-laws didn't say anything about my mom passing. Not even a sorry for your loss or anything. I mean, seriously. During dinner, my father-in-law started telling this long story about a recent fishing trip. He totally ignored what I said about my mom. Like, hello, I'm sitting right here. So I tried to steer the conversation towards memories of my mom. Just something, anything to keep her in the conversation. But of course, I got interrupted by my stepmother-in-law talking about a family vacation. God forbid we talk about anything meaningful for more than 5 seconds. Midway through dinner, my younger brother-in-law made this casual joke about my cooking. I could feel my face getting hot. Like, seriously. I excused myself to the bathroom because I needed a moment to breathe. But what do I hear when I go to wash my hands? My husband and his parents laughing about me in the dining room. I could have just cried right there. After washing my hands, I took a deep breath and went back to the table. The conversation had shifted to the family's plans for a big holiday gathering in a few months. My stepmother-in-law announced that she wanted to host it. She went on and on about all the activities they were going to do. My husband was all excited, talking about how they were going to make it the best holiday ever. Meanwhile, I was sitting there, trying to suggest a way to remember my mom during the holiday, and what do I get? Silence. My husband quickly changed the subject to a football game, acting like he didn't even hear me. I just wanted to scream. So, after dinner, we all moved to the living room for dessert and coffee. I sat there quietly, pushing my uneaten dessert around my plate. I just felt so alone, like I was in a different world. As the night went on, I overheard my in-laws discussing their plans for a trip that would coincide with the holiday gathering. My husband was all in, talking about how he wanted to go on the trip. I felt even more left out. I went to the yard to get some fresh air, and accidentally, I overheard my husband talking to his parents on the phone. He said he'd go on the trip with them. That was it for me. When I went back inside, I was determined to confront him about this whole situation. So, I asked him about the trip, and he just brushed it off, saying it was just a fun getaway with family. I started getting upset, saying how I felt like I was the only one who cared about my mom, and he just ignored me. That man had the nerve to say I was overreacting. The tension escalated, and we ended up arguing in front of his family. You could feel the awkwardness in the air. His parents were clearly uncomfortable with the whole scene. I just couldn't do it anymore. I decided to leave the dinner early, so I grabbed my things and started walking out. My husband tried to follow me, but I told him to stay behind. I didn't want to cause more drama. Edit. Her health declined rapidly. It took weeks for her to pass. I had to make tough decisions about her care. My husband and I tried to get her out of the nursing home, but it was complicated. His family didn't know all the details. It was too much to explain. Aita for wanting to break up with my girlfriend because her issues are draining me. Aita for leaving my emotionally draining girlfriend and feeling relieved when she threw a party to celebrate it. I'm really struggling in my relationship with my girlfriend. We live together, and I feel completely burned out. My girlfriend often struggles with insecurities and anxiety, and she sometimes expresses suicidal ideations. I'm always trying to support her emotionally, which leaves me exhausted. I feel like I've become her emotional battery, and it's starting to affect my mental health and academic performance. This sounds so awful because partners should be there to support each other, but I just have this perception that I am doing all the giving. I don't even know how she supports me or what I need from her at this point. I've tried to ask for space, but she gets hurt and upset when I do. She wants to do everything together, and I hardly have any time for myself. I'm in school and very involved, and I feel like I have no more time to decompress or do anything for myself or alone. I think that I may be independent to a fault, and I'm tired of failed relationships and being a serial monogamist. She believes that in a relationship, I should be willing to do things I don't want to do because she wants them, but I feel like I'm losing my independence. The logistical part of breaking up is also daunting. We live together, and I'm not currently employed, but will likely be getting a job at my school soon, but finding a new place feels impossible. But the relationship is draining me so much that I'm starting to feel resentful and tired of constantly compromising my needs. I know this isn't healthy for either of us, and I feel stuck. I want to be compassionate, but I also need to prioritize my own well-being. I think I am just possibly a mean person because she has started commenting on and observing things I do or say, and I'm unhappy with myself for being like this. But I just don't want to try anymore or put in the work because I am hitting my limit of being able to be her rock and stable anchor. If anyone has been through a similar situation or has advice on how to approach this conversation, I'd really appreciate your thoughts. I feel horrible for getting to this point, and I know I've been supportive of her, but we just constantly fight, and she wants to talk about every single little thing. We end up nitpicking at each other's actions and words so much, and the late-night dialogues are sucking the life out of me. I don't honestly think I am the protagonist here, and I believe that my personality and psyche are just flawed. I can be very mean, and the trope, "it's not you, it's me," feels very real currently. I don't think that I am uplifting her or providing value. How do I even begin a conversation with her? And what can I say to express myself without feeling incredibly guilty or walking it all back because I feel compelled to try and support her after she inevitably has a mental breakdown at the realization that our relationship may be on its last legs? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The old saying, "It isn't you, it's me." But in this case, it's mostly her, but both of you. You are within your rights to want downtime, to be able to do things alone, and to have time alone. If you're in a relationship where you are giving so much more than you are taking or getting, that's a one-sided relationship. Everything you said here is completely valid. Start making a plan and figuring out how you're going to move forward. When can you start working? When will you be able to afford to leave? And can you find a place to go? Because anything has to be better than this. If she has a meltdown because you tell her it's over, then she has a meltdown. It is not your job to fix what she is struggling with. And if she really truly wanted help, she would be seeking therapy or doing something to help herself. But she isn't. She's using you to do that. Don't feel guilty about going. You can break up for any reason, and you have all kinds of them. I wish you the best of luck. Comment 2. I can't agree more with this post. You can approach the conversation from the point that you feel the relationship isn't working for you because of these feelings. You can tell her that you feel that a relationship isn't supposed to feel like this, and it feels one-sided. Take this as a lesson that partners, including yourself, need to have their act together, and she doesn't have that yet. She isn't going to therapy or making steps to get professional help and is using you to a breaking point. Now, for the update. I'm posting an update about my relationship with my girlfriend, and it's not great. A few days after my last post about my relationship with Olivia, I decided I needed to take a step back and just focus on myself, so I went to a local coffee shop to study. While I was there, buried in my textbooks and trying to ignore the stress from my life, I ran into my neighbor Sarah. She's a nice enough person, but we don't really hang out. She asked about Olivia, how she was doing, and all that stuff. I kind of hesitated at first because I didn't want to get into details, but I told her I was trying to balance things out with Olivia and take some space. Sarah looked kind of concerned, which made me feel bad. Then she mentioned hearing some loud arguments coming from our apartment recently. I just awkwardly laughed it off, but it made me realize that maybe things were more obvious to others than I thought. That evening, I came home to find Olivia sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone, not even looking up when I came in. I asked her about her day, but she just huffed and went back to her phone. I figured maybe she was just having a bad day, so I tried to engage her with a lighthearted comment, but she just snapped at me, saying, "I never listen." That caught me off guard. What the heck? I tried to ask her why she felt that way, but then the conversation turned into another argument. She accused me of not supporting her through her struggles, claiming I was just being selfish and only thinking about myself. I mean, yeah, I've been thinking about myself because I need to. I insisted that I needed my space and that I was trying to be there for her the best I could. She threw a pillow across the room and called me inconsiderate. Like, what even is that? So I decided to leave the apartment. I went to my friend Mike's place just to cool off. While I was at Mike's, I got a text from Olivia demanding to know where I was. I didn't respond immediately, hoping she would just chill out. The next morning, I returned home to find Olivia packing her things. I was so confused. I was like, "What are you doing?" She said she needed time away and was going to stay with her sister. A few days later, I got a message from Olivia saying she was back in town and wanted to come over and talk about our relationship. I agreed because I wanted to clear the air. When she arrived, she seemed different, more distant. She handed me a small box, claiming it was a gift for my patients. Inside was a bracelet she had wanted me to have, but it felt weird. As we talked, she revealed she had been staying at her friend's apartment, not her sister's. I asked why she lied about where she was staying, but she just dodged the question. Then she dropped a huge surprise, saying she had been thinking about moving in with her friend. Wait, what? The conversation ended, and she said she needed to think things over. A week later, I got a call from Olivia saying she had made a decision. She told me she was moving in with her friend for good. Days passed, and I noticed things in our apartment were disappearing. I found out from Sarah that Olivia had been taking her things out piece by piece. The last straw came when I found out Olivia was already planning a party at her new place. I learned it was a get-together to celebrate her fresh start with her friends. Now I just feel like this whole situation has been dragging on forever. I really thought we were going to fix things, but now she's celebrating a new start without me? It's just messed up. I guess I'm just waiting for the party to happen and see what else she does after that. I just want this to be over. To answer a few questions, Olivia and I were together for almost a year, and the relationship started off well. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.